Hey, everybody, and welcome to this edition. I'm Jim Williams, and coming in, I'm going to bring Amadeus. We're going to chat about a bunch of things. Hey, Amadeus, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing today?
I'm fine. The NFL decided they're going to change things up a little. You know, uh, why wouldn't you not? Right? I mean, they're struggling to make to get viewers to the televisions, and so let's change things up a bit. The first thing now, you're the defensive guy, right? Championships are won by defense. They changed the rule yesterday, which the Players Association was kind of like, not so sure why this is a good thing, but must be a good idea anyway. So let's talk about the new tackling situation, and I'll handle the kickoff aspect. What do you say?
Yeah. So, me. I view this one as a slap in the face to defenders everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I get there was a few guys that came out and defended the rule change about how they lost, half their season to some injuries. It's a dangerous tackle, but
Mm-hmm.
a majority of the players were really questioning
Mm-hmm.
this rule change. So they've now banned the hip drop tackle, and I believe it's punishable with a 15-yard penalty on
Yes.
top of it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's just something again, and I think in the pre-show you really you said it best with it's the kind of play similar to targeting
Mm-hmm.
where if you're in that that quick bang bang kind of play, that's going to be tough for the defender to
Mm-hmm.
control. It's like when the quarterback slides late and you've already committed to the tackle, and then you end
Right.
up, hitting him in the head. But well, his head wasn't really where you were aiming
Right.
by the time he made the slide. So it's definitely it's a questionable one to me. We'll see how it's going to affect the game. I think it's going to affect the total specifically. Obviously, there's been a lot of rule changes over the last few years to help the offense out, and this is just another one. I guess a few years ago we had an average scoring of something like 49 points per game,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess scoring in the last 2 years dipped to 43 or something like that, and we felt like we need to get defense out of the game now. But yeah, I'm personally not a fan of this rule change,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, we're gonna see it affect the game for sure. Obviously, it's gonna affect. If someone makes the tackle, it's going to be an easy 15 yards. It's really going to help the offense get up the field,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, it's gonna affect the defenders. There's already
Mm-hmm.
too much onus on the defenders they got to protect themselves on the field. They got to protect the guy they're tackling. They got to protect their mother in the stands. Like
Right.
there's just too much onus on the defenders right now, and you're gonna see I think more poor defense this year just because there's going to be a lot of guys who are going to be hesitant to tackle, or maybe they'll go in a certain way and the guy ends up breaking the tackle because they realize, oh, wait, I'm going to get flagged for this. I have to like ease up or go in a different way. And now you're bringing too much thinking for the defenders now. They can't go out there and just play the game. Now it's like they have to think before they even take a step on the field to try and make a tackle. So I don't like it personally, but only time will tell how it affects the game.
Yeah, I saw Mike Tomlin, the Steelers coach. He was asked about it, and he said, "Well, here's my theory." He goes, "I want my guys to tackle, and if we get 15 yards, then be it. So be it." Because I do not want them to think about tackling; just tackle. So, you know, uh, Tomlin is one for the simplistic, and I think that might be just about as simple as you could say. Either, just go ahead and tackle, and we'll worry about whether we get penalized for it later. But yeah, as we talked about, it's going to be like targeting. It's going to be subjective to the official as to what exactly, um, you know, did the intent. You almost now as an official have to think, okay, what was the intent of the guy who was making the tackle? All right, was his did when he when he started to make the move to tackle, where was the guy he was, the quarterback or the running back who's now supposedly defenseless? Where was he whenever he started that? I mean, it's one thing, some of them are painfully obvious, but the vast majority of them, however, aren't. So you have to go with what you got and what you see. And I think it's going to be difficult. I would love to see, and I don't know that they're ever going to do it, but I would love to see, just like in targeting and in this situation, where they could go to a video replay just to make sure they could take a look at, how the tackle, how the gentleman running across the field decided to make the play. So you could gauge whether or not it's a tackle. It's going to be, we're going to get to a point where it's going to be like, soccer is with yellow and red cards. You're going to get that kind of thing where guys are going to be expert at diving, and getting right into position so that when you tackle them, it's going to get them a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, and this is, goes again back to the too much thinking in the game. Now you're going to have offensive players thinking about how they can get a flag here, when
Right.
instead of just, playing the game and trying to break off the tackle and
Right.
get 20 yards yourself. So
Right.
absolutely, I think we're going to see a lot of questionable calls this year. Like we don't see that every year with, and it doesn't help that, there's been a general consensus that the reffing has been atrocious last season. It's been getting worse the last few years.
Yeah.
And then when you start adding these subjective rules in to
Yeah.
cause questionable calls, then it doesn't help your reffing situation. You're just
Right.
bringing more scrutiny to the guys reffing the game.
Yep. And people don't pay to watch the refs. So
Yeah.
you got that problem. Now, they also came up with the idea of something. Basically, the concept was, okay, so what can we do to bring the kickoff return back? Basically now guys just kick the ball in the end zone for the most part, and the ball comes out to the 25-yard line. Well, they went in and they did something. The NFL has been great at stealing other leagues, gimmicks, if you will. You may remember that the USFL had the 2-point conversion, and the NFL didn't. Well, when the merger happened, the NFL took it, decided that 2-point conversion is a pretty good idea. Let's put that in there. So there was a number of little things. By the way, the USFL had the names of the players on the back of their jerseys. The NFL didn't. So when the merger came, the NFL decided, hey, knowing who's on the field probably isn't a bad thing for the fans. So let's put names on the back of the jerseys. So there you go. You got names on the back of the jerseys. So now they decided, and believe me, when you take stuff from the XFL, you have got to be, really out there deciding what the heck's going on. Well, they decided to take the kickoff, because what the XFL decided to do was, let's really have some fun with the kickoff. So a person could actually break this thing on any given kickoff, not just, the odd ones. So here's how it works. The kicker will kick the ball from his own 35-yard line as per normal. But the 10 other players will line up on the opposing 40-yard line. The return team will basically be no more than 10 yards back from that line of 10. Okay? So if you think of it this way, yes, the player's going to be closer, right, to the action. But if you can break that line, you're going to get an opportunity to return the ball to the house. Because the only guy who can keep you from getting there is the kicker, if you are able to break that area. So that's and the rationale behind it was basically the same rationale behind the XFL. And that is, you get these gunners who've run, 30 yards at high speed, and, guy makes a catch and gets clobbered, and, problems ensue. And also the fact that we talked about offense, that people weren't returning the kicks. So this is an opportunity now that if you have, if the block, blocking wedge or however you get through that first line of defense, if you get through that first line of defense, there's not that much more defense coming. So it's going to make for a very interesting thing. We'll see how it works out, but it's going to be different. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I even remember, they were mentioning it last season in the
Yeah.
XFL that this is like, a trial run and maybe the NFL will adopt it. So I will say at least that's one good thing about the NFL. They admit when they're wrong sometimes and
Right.
say, oh, you know what, that's a good one. Maybe we'll put that in there. But yeah, we'll see. How does this affect the onside kicks as well? Because from my understanding, we don't. Now you have to
Well, it's good.
report when you're going to do an onside kick. There's no more surprises, right?
Yeah, there's no surprising anybody with the onside kick. You can onside kick it, okay, but it has to go 10 yards from the line. Okay, so that would mean you'd have to kick the ball from your 35 to the opponent's 40, and then basically, I guess that'd be. They said you could do it if you could kick it from 35 to 35, and nobody touches it, then you get there. But you got to hit your own guy in the back of the head. So I don't foresee that being a, much of an option anymore. I think your onside kick is, as you say, we're reporting in to say we're going to try an onside kick. 99% of the time, everybody in the building knows you're going to try it anyway. But now they definitely will know. There will be no doubt left in that. So there you go. Things happen. What are you going to do? Well, Caitlin Clark and her Iowa Hawkeyes got tested last night. Things came very, very close. They almost lost, but they didn't. And I know Amadeus and I every year fill out a women's bracket. And for those of you who are new to this game, and I'll let Amadeus speak for the gaming community, but for the most part, it's chalk, pretty much. So much so that this year, 3 of the 4 brackets are literally by the numbers. Nothing. There was not a single upset in 3 of those brackets for the first, 32 contests that came off. So there you go, boys and girls. They're chalk at this point. And yeah, there was a chance last night, but Caitlin came back and made it work. So women's basketball, if you're going to bet on it, be sure to play the favorites because it's going to be close.
Yeah, well, now you're getting down to the the better teams, so should be some closer matchups. Obviously, South Carolina, destroyed by 40 points in their first 2 games, but maybe they only win by 20 in the next one, right? We're getting down to it. Eventually, there's going to be a team that gives the better ones a little bit of struggle, as we saw with Iowa last night. So definitely getting down
West Virginia,
exciting games.
West Virginia gave them a hard time. I don't know if many people have seen her, but Juju Walker, who is a guard for University of Southern California, might be the next Caitlin Collins. We'll see. But she's guided the Trojans, who were 1 seed in the West, to the to the Sweet 16. And I think that if you haven't watched women's basketball, you really should. It's a lot of fun to watch, and they do one thing, Amadeus, that I swear drives me absolutely nuts. The women will hit free throws. The men don't. I have no idea why you cannot stand there 15 feet from the basket with nobody in your face and literally miss the ball and miss the shot. It just has always, been a mystery to me.
Yeah, and sometimes it becomes a huge problem late in the game because you end up, losing a game by 2, 3, 4 points, and then you miss 20 free throws throughout the game, and all of a sudden, you have 10 of those 20 points and you'd be up by 6. So definitely for free throws, even a lot of people, you like to call it the charity stripe because it's like a free point, but definitely, not the freest of points sometimes.
Not a
Some of
guarantee, that's for sure.
some of those 60% shooters, and you're scratching your head like, really?
Well, the funny thing is that Rick Barry, when he was playing, and Will Chamberlain for a big man, both of them. I mean, Rick Barry was 6'8", and obviously Chamberlain was over 7 feet. They would take the ball, and obviously you may remember, they would take it, they would hold it down at their knees, and they would literally just kind of throw it from that standpoint in like a pendulum thing where you're not trying to shoot across, you're literally throwing it up, it goes up. It may hit the backboard and go in, but it went in. And I'm very surprised that why some people don't try it, because the average of anybody who shoots free throws that way is at least 10 points higher than the guys who just take it and shoot it across. And you remember Shaq? I mean, it used to be called. I mean, got to the point where they actually came hashtag Shaq guy, Hack-a-Shaq. I mean, they were like, if we foul, Shaq, he can't hit a free throw, so that's as good as us getting, an opportunity for a miss.
Yeah, I think it's a different game now, right? Like the same
Sure.
reason why no one plays defense anymore. It's just the game
Yeah.
has evolved, and that's the shape. I guess players don't want to get criticized for the way they shoot too. Is what,
make them
how it looks, but it doesn't matter. We see it in golf all the time. Someone with a wacky swing, and that it gets the job done. So it doesn't matter what the swing looks like as long as it gets the results. So
that's a good point. Hit it straight and hit it far. That's what we want to do. But
yeah, whatever works for you, right? Every
exactly.
player is different, and not every player is good at shooting. But as you said, you change up the style and the way you shoot, and it automatically gives you a better chance. But then there's a chance you get roasted by media for shooting like that, and that might be what the deterrent is in this day and age, right?
Or roasted by your own players.
Yeah, they'd be like, "The hell are you doing, man? Come on!" So,
really, this is what you're gonna do?
So I think that does play a part. Nobody wants to be, on the wrong highlight reel.
Right.
For something, and especially if you miss, and then now you just look like the idiot that missed with the weirdest technique,
with the free throw technique. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, many of you know that we served as Shohei Ohtani's agent during the offseason, moving him up the 5 freeway from
we did
Anaheim
not
to Los Angeles.
Accounts, though.
I'm sorry?
We did not have access to his bank accounts.
No, we did not.
Not us.
We're still waiting for the check that he owes us, and we're hoping that it comes through any day. But till that check does come, Shohei's in a little trouble. His interpreter seems to have interpreted away money as in gambling. The problem is that now the biggest superstar in baseball, on the eve of opening day, just back from a lovely trip to Korea, is trying to explain, which is difficult to do since he has an interpreter, how this happened directly under his nose from a standpoint of, did he gamble or was it his interpreter? And the two of them have been together for a number of years now. So it's a messy situation for Major League Baseball, and we'll have to see how it plays out. But it's not going to be pretty, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely a lot to unpack in this situation, especially when he struggled to answer the questions about, you don't notice that kind of money leaving your account.
Right.
How did he have access to the bank account? So definitely a sticky situation. It's not looking good for Otani. His only saving grace is, if the league helps him out, really. But then that raises the issue of, you keep Pete Rose out of the Hall of Fame for the
Right.
same thing. All of a sudden, now you're opening up Pandora's box if we're going to defend Otani just because he's the star of the league right now. So definitely.
Here's the thing for me on this one. If Otani gambled, right, and he gambled at a high rate, why would he push off the $700 million that he's getting from the Dodgers? Why would he go and take a far less rate to play? I mean, you would think he would need that money. So
That is a good point. Like I said, there's a lot to unpack here.
Oh, there's a lot to unpack. I'm not saying he didn't do it. I'm just saying that you would think that if he did, if he was a heavy gambler, that he would want as much money, on the upside as he would, deferred. So I don't know. But look, at the end of the day, something's going to come out, and it's either going to be he was involved or he was at the very best for Otani, he's stupid. Okay, that's the very best situation. I didn't see it. I gave this guy, I trusted him too much. Blah 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 blah. Okay, and I'm stupid, and I should never let it happen. And that's why I got married, so I can have a wife who can take care of my money for me. So I don't know. It is one of those things that it's not going to go away anytime soon. And your point about Pete Rose, I consistently say that Rose should be in the Hall of Fame. It's a museum, okay? It's not the Hall of Nice. It's the Hall of Fame, okay? And for the record, anybody who's been to Cooperstown knows that Pete Rose has more stuff in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame than half of the guys who are physically in there for being in the Hall of Fame. So, you can't go in any room having to do with hitting in any way, shape, or form and not see a Pete Rose bat, not see a ball that, that was the 3,000th hit he got. There is a ton of Pete Rose memorabilia in the Hall. And look, Ty Cobb was a racist. He's in there. God knows how many guys in there were drunks. They got in. Just again, it's not the Hall of Nice. It's the Hall of, of what you did on the field.
Yeah, it should be based what you did on the field. I totally agree with that. And the other thing with Pete Rose is he gambled on games, but he never threw games. He was always betting on himself because, we're the best. That was just the mindset. Might as well make some extra money on how good I am and the team is. So we're always betting on yourself. It's not like, I'm going to bet on myself to not get a hit, then I'm not going to get a hit.
Paul Hornung in 1962 and Alex Karras, they were two. Well, Sir Hornung for sure was the golden boy of the National Football League at the time, and Karras was one of the best defensive players at the time. They got suspended for 1 year for betting. Okay, that was the NFL. Pete Rozelle was the commissioner. He took a look at what happened, said, "Okay, wait a minute, boys. This is not kosher. We don't want it to happen here. Don't want the league to suffer for it." But the penalty was 1 year. That was it. Both those guys are in the National Football Hall of Fame. Now, I know there are a lot of people who think Pete shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, and I can understand that. But to not even put him on the ballot so people could decide whether or not, yes or no, I think is silly. Just like Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, and all of the guys who, were involved in the PD aspect, right? you should put it down as the era of whatever it was. There's a dead ball era. I mean, people in the 60s and 70s were heavy into amphetamines. I mean, so what's the deal, right? I mean, Doc, Doc Ellis won a World Series game while on LSD. That, my friends, is not only amazing, but that should almost be celebrated. And I don't mean, I'm not endorsing using LSD. I'm just saying anybody who under the influence of LSD can pitch that well, got a surprise. And by the way, I'm sorry, I said it was a World Series. It wasn't a World Series. It was an All-Star game. And one of the pitches that he threw to Reggie Jackson was hit literally out of the park. And that was at Tiger Stadium. And Lenny, if you're watching, you know the old Tiger Stadium I'm talking about. You had to hit that ball. And you go to YouTube, you'll see it. Reggie Jackson was at the time playing for the Oakland A's. He hit that ball not just only 400 feet. He hit it 400 feet and 100 feet high to get it over the roof of Tiger Stadium. I don't think I've ever seen a ball hit that far in my life. It hit the light standard on the roof of the stadium. That was very much like the Roy Hobbs thing in Field of Dreams when he hits the lights and they all explode and he's running around the bases. Yeah, that was one of those kind of things. So, look, baseball. The Baseball Writers Association already know that I'm not fans, so I'm not hiding it. But I don't understand. Please explain to me why you're, Bonds and all the rest of these guys, Clemens. I mean, Barry Bonds on his own prior to the PED thing had a Hall of Fame career going. Roger Clemens had a Hall of Fame career. I don't know. Paul Merrow's on the fence on that one, but I don't know. To me, it's a museum. You don't want you want people in the museum for historical sakes, and you can put in there, Pete Rose entered the Hall of Fame, and by the way, the reason he and put in exactly what you accused him of doing and what you think he did and what he was convicted of doing. So by all means, go ahead and do it. But again, I want to be able to go into a hall and find out the best players that were not nice guys. They were players, but they weren't nice guys.
Yeah, I totally agree. It should be based on what you do on the field and nothing else.
Yeah. I mean, you can be a jerk, whatever you want to be, but not so much. So there's a series of commercials going on down here, which I don't know if you guys get it up there. Do you have BetMGM up there?
Yeah.
In Canada? Okay. Have you seen the BetMGM commercials where they're saying that we are excited because now anybody can bet in the state of wherever, because they go state by state, right?
But not Tom Brady.
But not Tom Brady. I think that is hilarious. I mean, no, Tom, you've won enough. So
yeah, I think I think that was their Super Bowl commercial actually, but since then it has been getting aired a few times up here because it's got Wayne Gretzky in it. So I figured
yes, it does. Right.
They love to show the Canadians up here. So I don't know if it was shown during the Super Bowl, but definitely they found a way to get it on air up here. I've know the commercial you're talking about. And, I love it. So it's hilarious.
It's funny because Brady keeps sneaking into the commercial as different people, and they go, "No, we know who you are. It's Tom. No, you can't." So yeah, I mean the concept of Brady, you've won too much, even for MGM to let you bet, I think is hilarious. I don't expect that Shohei Ohtani will be asked to do those commercials anytime soon, but maybe Caesars. I don't know. That maybe that'll be the way it works. But
they'll get his interpreter to
right, exactly. Well, he speaks English. We know that.
He does everything else for Ohtani. So.
Right. How about serving jail time? So.
Yeah, maybe he can serve the suspension if there is a suspension. You know,
Right,
he can serve it for Otani. There you go.
right. The translation, he can go and translate. Okay, we're putting your. Now, I'm assuming, and I'm pretty sure this is the case, that the interpreter is not available to Otani now. They have another interpreter, um, you know, in place for him. So we'll see how that goes. We're only just 72 hours away. No, wait, I'm sorry. It's 42 hours, 48 hours away from opening pitch, first pitch baseball. So we will be starting to get into baseball on a daily basis here. From a wagering standpoint, my friend, how on your pecking order of things you like to do, where's baseball fit?
Yeah, so baseball, I mean, I'll be taking a look at it for sure this week and
Mhm.
easing myself into it for sure.
Right.
But a lot of people I know don't really look at baseball till after the NBA and NHL playoffs are over.
Okay.
The first 2 months of
So
the season is
June,
kind of just, yeah, it's kind of just a
so
write
like
off.
June, July, yeah.
The same
So
way, kind of how people don't really go heavy on college basketball till
mhm,
January, really,
right till
right?
the tournament. I mean, I'm sorry, till the conference play starts.
Yeah, and the football's over. So that tends to be it. I mean, I'm the kind of guy where I'll look at it for sure. I'm not really, I'm not big on hockey anymore.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, it's mainly going to be once March Madness ends, I'll be looking at baseball as well as NBA and my millions of soccer leagues that I look at all the time. So that's definitely between those three sports. There's a plenty of action.
It's funny. One of the biggest questions I always get from people is it hard to bet on baseball? And I said, well, actually, no, it's not. It's probably of the sports, probably one of the easier ones to bet on. Am I wrong in that particular case?
Yeah, I would say that's fair to say. No sport is easy to bet
No,
on,
I
but
didn't
I
mean to.
I
Yeah, sorry.
definitely no, I know that's not what you meant. I'm
Yeah,
just clarifying for the audience. Like no
yeah,
sport is it's our duty as it's my duty as a handicapper,
right.
gamble
No, 100%.
responsibly. So
Right.
so
Yeah.
no sport is easy to bet on, but I would say that's fair to say just because a lot of it is pitching,
Mm-hmm.
really pitching matchups and the first five element really helps too as
Mm-hmm.
well because if you got two teams where you don't really trust the bullpens but you know what you're going to get from the starting pitchers then
Right.
I play a lot of first fives myself so
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely very pitching oriented and
Mm-hmm.
if you really know your pitching or you do a deep dive into
Mm-hmm.
some of these guys and what they've been doing in recent games then yeah it's a lot of trends tend to add up. Like Kevin Gossman always comes out as the
Mm-hmm.
best pitcher in the first month of the MLB season, and then dies somewhere in the second half. So,
Right. The arm gets tired.
expect
Yeah.
him to be on fire in the first month, but
Yep.
yeah, things like that, right? Tend to be, and that's the thing with pitchers too is they're predictable as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like obviously I use that as an example, but the more common one would be guys like Max Scherzer where you're great in the first half of the season, and then it's that second half once the wear and tear starts to
The
hit.
arm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So definitely, and you can use that to your advantage late in the season. This is a guy that he's going to give up runs now at this point in the season. So maybe you start taking some overs or some first five overs. So definitely.
2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, um, there's always a pitcher on whatever team. You can pick the team, right? That in this case that the illustration I'm making is Jacob deGrom. Jacob deGrom damn near had to pitch a no-hitter because for some reason, when Jacob deGrom pitched, not only did he pitch well, but his team didn't score runs. The Mets scored nothing for Jason deGrom when Jason deGrom pitched. Okay, the next day, all right, Syndergaard could go out, give up 7 runs, and the Mets would win 9-7. So there are pitchers in everybody's rotation who you look at them and you look at the ERA and you're looking at everything going for him and saying, wow, this guy's a great pitcher. Unfortunately, nobody scores any runs for
Yeah, that's something you got to factor in because
them.
sometimes it's the team, right? They know
Right.
you got a shaky guy on the mound, and it's like, okay,
Mhm.
today we need
We
to,
got a ball out. Yeah.
yeah, we need to come to score, and
Right.
then sometimes it works against because yeah, they'll be like, oh, we got DeGrom on the mound, should be fine, and then everybody is a little more lax, and nobody scores a run or even gets on
Right.
base. So definitely, you always got
Mhm.
to have the mentality to be in the game for sure. But yeah, those are definitely things that correlate.
I took a look this week at ESPN's quote unquote baseball experts. I have a new disdain for ESPN's baseball experts. I'm going to run a few. I'm not going to name names because I know
Are
them.
these the same experts that are questioning why is scoring up in the NBA this season? Like, what happened to the game?
Yes. No, not no. I don't think so. These guys actually just follow baseball for them. They have 5 out of the 7 of them do not have Texas in the playoffs.
Houston's
They
just too good. I don't know.
they choose to believe that the Mariners, and in some cases, the Angels
Oh, come on.
are going to beat out a team which you and I a week ago, or 10 days, reminded that Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom would be healthy at the beginning of the season and weren't even part of last year's team that went all the way to the World Series. And oh, by the way, I don't remember them trading Corey Seager during the offseason. So he's still there. What 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 are they thinking? Okay.
Yeah, that's
I don't
hilarious
get
just
this.
because it's like, the Angels lose Otani. You lose your best player in the pitching staff and the lineup, and we're going to get better this season. We're going to be a playoff team this season. So that's the first head scratcher. And then, the Mariners, maybe they're better than the Rangers, but I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. We hear it every year that this Mariners team
Well,
is supposed to be
they
good. We were
sure as
on them last year, and
yeah, they sure as hell weren't for that last week of the season when they had a chance to knock them out
yeah.
and
So
didn't.
like with
Uh,
the Mariners, I say maybe, but I'll believe it when I see it.
yeah, I mean, okay, good on you. Uh, they also uh, they also have the Major League Baseball MVP in the American League. Again, 7 out of 9 had Juan Soto as the MVP. Now, I love Juan Soto. Okay, I've seen this kid play since he was 17 years old. I am a Juan Soto devotee. All right. He went in the witness relocation program last year in San Diego. Could he have a bounce back year playing for the Yankees? He could. But is he going to be the best player in the American League this year, playing on a Yankees team that has a lot of hitting, but not a lot of pitching? I don't know. But I find Juan Soto's name in his first season in the American League. I'm sorry. First season in the American League as the MVP. When on his same team, there's Judge, there's guys on his own team that could very well end up being that that player. And the aforementioned Corey Seager, not bad. There's a few guys in the American League who can play baseball.
Yeah, I guess they just expect him to hit the ground running in New York, but I don't
He
know.
could. Yeah.
One thing I don't think they realize is like, yeah, okay, he disappeared in San Diego. Maybe he needed a change of scenery, but New York is like the worst place to be for that. There's going to be so much pressure on him this season. And, you know, when he wasn't hitting last year, it was more the team than him, right? Like, yeah, we were focused on he's definitely underperforming, but a lot of it was like, what the hell is wrong with this San Diego Padres team? They're so good. So that kind of distracted and took the spotlight off of just him in general.
Mhm.
It's going to be totally different in New York. That spotlight's going to be beating down on him, and they're going to be picking apart every little mistake all the way to the way he ties his shoes. So there's going to be a
Well,
lot of pressure, and it could affect the
he
way he plays this season for
he
sure.
came up when he came up at the Washington organization. You know, they had a number of players there who helped work with them, right? And when the game was over, you know, he was again a young guy, so he went out, played video games when he got home, straight up nothing going on. Moves to get straight to San Diego. If you've ever been to San Diego, it's a lovely place, very laid back town. You know, you can go out, doesn't matter who you are, nobody's gonna bother you. I Players that go to New York, it's on the field, yeah, it's a concern, right? But off the field, when you are there and you have everything that you could, you know, that you could possibly do, and it's a 24-hour city, it's a big change. And I'm not, I mean, one had that in Washington, which is also a 24-hour town, but he was young and they were, you know, they were watching him. He's not young anymore, and he's, you know, of an age where, you know, going out and partying in New York could be something that could very well take away from some of those abilities once he plays. So we'll have to see if spending a night on the town is something that Juan Soto chooses to do or chooses not to do, because you could be just as much on page 6 in the tabloids in New York as you can on the back cover of the sports section in New York. So we'll have to see how he handles that. The MLB MVP in the National League, 7 out of 9 say it is the first baseman of the Philadelphia Phillies, Rye Cape's own Bryce Harper. Love Bryce Harper as well. Bryce is certainly capable of winning MVP. He's done it before. But again, there are a lot of talented guys in the National League. We'll have to see how that works out. One of them we just spoke about for a while, who just moved over, and that's Otani. So the other thing too, let's just from your standpoint, thoughts. Soto's now in the American League. There's different pitchers, different whole situation from that standpoint. Same thing for Otani. He's going to face different pitchers, guys who are going to, you know, be seeing him for the first time. It's going to be an interesting situation.
Yeah, definitely. He's going to see a lot more teams he didn't see last year. That's for sure.
Yep.
So, and he's going to have to play more often in that lovely stadium out in Colorado in the altitude there. So.
Right. He's not going to get to go to out there where you can hit a fly ball, and on a good day it'll fly out of the ballpark. Not going to happen there. Although, as I said before, Yankee Stadium for a left-hander, that short porch out there, that could very well be because Soto can pull the ball. There's no question about that. Hell, he can hit it out of any place. That's not a problem. My thought and concern about Juan is his focus. Is he going to be focused on playing baseball? And that's up to Boone. You know, Boone's got to get him ready to rock and roll, and we'll see, because he's going to be the leadoff guy. I'm a little concerned about that, but you know, what you going to do? Well, I mean, didn't Boone have Boone had a Judge leading off for a while for I think last year, but I will see. We'll definitely see the Yankees. A lot of people, including a number of the folks in the ESPN group, thought they were like an odds-on favorite to win the American League East. Evidently, they didn't pay attention to the American League East last year because they didn't win. There's some teams ahead of them that still are ahead of them, but we'll see. We will see. That's why they play the games. All right. We got tomorrow's Wednesday. We're going to give you a little bit of baseball on as we preview what opening day is going to look like. And we're going to talk about MLS soccer because, as you know, Amedeus likes to say, it's ML. You know, it's Major League Wednesday, Major League Baseball,
Wednesday.
and Major League Soccer. So we're going to get to both of them then. But between now and then, Amadeus has got some stuff that you're going to want to look at in our show box below. Amadeus, tell them what's up.
Yeah, make sure you check out my premium picks at bigal.com, pickadvisor.com, and theinsidersroom.com. The links are in the description below. Coming off an 0-1 day, just had one NBA play last night. Wasn't a great card, though. We're bouncing back today. I got a soccer play on the pitch in these Euro Cup qualifiers for 345, so go check that out. And I also have 2 college basketball plays for the NIT tonight, as well as an NBA, so make sure you check that out.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks for coming by today, and we will be back tomorrow on Major League Wednesday. So get your stuff ready, and we'll be talking baseball, and you can talk it with us. If you have questions about any of the stuff we're talking about, please go ahead and leave it in the comments. Also, ring that bell and subscribe. We greatly appreciate it if you would. Okay? All right, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.